For the moment, I want to ask you to consider how it is that a retail store lets you know that they're open for business. And the answer to this question has actually changed over the years. Used to be you went up to it and there was a sign or whatever, or you called them and they told you if they were open or not. Of course not. Just this last Monday, I was trying to meet Wyatt back here for coffee. And we had a place all figured out in the Raytown area, and it's this little breakfast place. And I showed up, and they were closed. It said on Google they were going to be open, but they were closed. So they tricked me out a little bit, because that's the way people know now if a place is open is Google, right? But they still have their signs up in the window, the old-fashioned way. And some of these signs usually it's the neon business with the red and the blue or whatever. But I've seen some more creative open signs as well. There's especially some of these like hipster, cute stores. They'll come up with some interesting way to let you know they're open or closed. And I saw one, I remember, that had 4 big placards in the window, leaned up against the glass, that had the letters O-P-E-N. And I'm like, well, that's clever and it's cute. It looks neat. But I didn't understand how clever it was until I drove by that store again later in the evening, and the letter N from the end of the word open had been moved to the beginning. So now it said N-O-P-E. Nope. So at any given time, this store is either open or nope. And I think we all understand that, right? Now, my question for you then is St. Michael's open or nope? And obviously at the moment we're open, we're all here, the doors are unlocked. And then first and third Wednesdays from 10 to 2, we're open for the necessity pantry. But that's not my point, of course. So maybe the better question is, are we an open church or are we a nope church? And I think we all understand innately that we should be an open church, right? Whatever that might mean something different to each one of us, but I think we can all agree that that's a good concept. It's a good goal to strive for, and that's why I changed it. And if you read the newsletter on Friday, you read a little bit about that, and you might see the front page of our website now kind of declares us open in that sense. Open hearts, open minds, open doors. It's kind of a new tagline for us. And I hope that that's true. It's aspirational, as a good vision statement should be. I think it says something about who we are right now. I think it is true enough of us right now that we can declare it. But also it says something about our values, about who we are and what we care about, and what we are aspiring toward, that we would be a truly wide open church. That we'd have open hearts, meaning unconditional love, and open minds, meaning a holy curiosity. The ability to change our mind and the ability to agree to disagree agreeably. I almost said agree disagreeably, which I don't know how that even works. To disagree agreeably. And then open doors, total welcome, affirming, inclusive welcome. And I hope that is true of us. And hopefully it becomes more and more true of us. But I also think we see a lot of this in our readings, especially with that bonus passage from Isaiah. Because when we read that, and it is kind of a bummer, because it's talking about people with closed eyes and with closed ears, and their minds are closed and their hearts are closed. And so they're missing out on what God has for them. But then in the first line of the psalm that we sang together, the psalmist begins with a declaration of love, with the psalmist's whole heart. So describing openness, open heart, being willing and prepared to accept something new, something big from God. And then there's the gospel passage where Simon Peter stands right at the center of this story. And we see Simon Peter in that moment of both closed and open. He starts this scene, this moment of Jesus teaching, and followed by the miracle of the catch of fish. He starts out with a closed mind and a closed heart. But then he allows his heart and his mind to be open. At first he said, "Master, we have worked all night long and caught nothing." But then there's just that little bit of openness, just enough that he can say, "But if you say so, we'll do it. We'll cast our net on the other side." And I think this is why Simon Peter so often represents the church at large, is because he's such a mess. He's such, and I don't mean that to be derogatory. I mean, he's a beautiful mess. He's a human mess. He's this mixture of doubt and certainty, of ego and self-flagellation. He's throwing all of these things into this one bucket, and he's not shy to show it on his sleeve. But in this scene, this is where we catch him between these two dualities, between the state of being closed and the state of being open. And I think one thing we need to notice about Peter, first of all, in this scene, is he's tired. He's exhausted. And that's important to note, because I think sometimes we give ourselves a hard time for our lack of faith or our smallness of faith, when really we're just tired. We've been working all night and have nothing to show for it. Maybe we're even doing the thing we're supposed to be good at, like Peter is fishing. That's his profession. And he's failed. And we do the thing that we spend all day or all night doing the thing that defines us, and with nothing at all to show for that effort. That's exhausting. And that is not a good foundation to build faith on top of. We feel our minds begin to close and our hearts begin to close when we have no energy left in us. But Peter had just enough hope left in him. He was exhausted, but not utterly depleted. He had that glimmer of hope, that mustard seed of hope. And that was all that Jesus needed to break in and do something unthinkable. 2 boats so full of fish that they were sinking. Something Peter never could have imagined. All of them were astounded, because this much hope. And I think God is asking us to be open, but not wide open. God just says, if you crack the door just enough, crack a window just enough, I don't need that much, and I can get in and flood your life with abundance. So you might be tired too. You might relate with Simon Peter in this moment where you are just like, I have had it. This is more than I can handle, and it's taking everything I have just to process life. And maybe you have, in a sense, worked all night and come up empty. Maybe you feel like every effort that you have made to open your mind and open your heart has been thwarted, or worse yet, punished. And when those efforts to open yourself up don't work out, and you get your wrist slapped, or you get rejected, you want to stay closed to protect yourself. I say you, I mean we. We shut ourselves down to say, I'm not letting that happen again. We all see what happened last time I opened my mind. Because of course we do. We need to protect ourselves. We've got more living to do, and we can't let it all end right here on one big gamble. And I feel like the church is that way as well. I feel like sometimes the church does the same thing because Christendom has taught us that it's a dangerous world out there. And if we open our doors, we might let dangerous people in. And if we open our minds, we might let dangerous ideas in. And if we open our hearts, we might become dependent or codependent. We might get disappointed. We might get abandoned. We might get betrayed. We might get traumatized. So we close our hearts, we close our minds, we close our doors, we put up fences and gates and security systems, and we post armed officers at our entrances. Am I speaking literally or metaphorically? Maybe both. Maybe both. When I think about my heart and my mind, do I have high fences? Do I have gates? Do I have locks? Do I have security systems and security guards protecting myself? Or have we done it in the church in various metaphorical ways? Maybe we don't have a fence around our property. Maybe we don't have a security guard. Maybe we should. I don't know. It's a conversation we need to have. But regardless, are we an open church or are we a nope church? People might look us up on Google, look at our website, even come in and get a sense that we're open, like I did with that breakfast place. I showed up with every belief. This place is going to be open. Do people show up here and think that we're open, but it turns out we're closed? Turns out we're nope. Sometimes it takes somebody just an hour to figure that out. Sometimes it takes a month or two before they're like, wow, this place seemed really open at first, but bait and switch. Are we willing to risk the consequences of being open? Open hearts, open minds, open doors. But despite all of our efforts to protect ourselves, all of our efforts to build that wall, to build that fence, to keep the dangerous ideas or the dangerous people out, none of us is completely closed off. None of us as individuals, none of our churches are so hermetically sealed that there isn't a small opening. And that is actually what we see in that Isaiah passage after it gets through all the bummers, all the depressing stuff. It's like we're going to burn it and then we're going to burn it again. As if nothing remains, but it's not true. Something always remains. And in the metaphor that Isaiah is painting for us, that something is a stump. It's the stump of a tree that's been burned and it's been burned again, but there is something left. That little stump is then the ground out of which a holy seed can grow again. And that is that final line in that Isaiah passage. A holy seed will grow from that stump because that's all it takes. God doesn't ask us for a farm. God doesn't ask us for an orchard or an arboretum or a forest to do the work. Just a stump. And so as we assess what is left, as we assess what little might be open after we're done protecting ourselves, and we ask ourselves, when the moment comes, when all of the fish are right there underneath the boat, just waiting for the net to go on the other side, and when that blessing of abundance is here to meet us, will our sign say open or will it say nope? Amen.